move on.
You know what does work?
Dolphin kicks?
Apparently banana ball.
Banana ball. That was – so at first when – was it Sip that asked him? Just went, what is a banana ball?
Yeah.
I was like,
most...
there was only one person in that crowd that was going to ask that question.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Matt Satilli from KTV. It was going to be Sip.
That's like I was so happy that Sip asked that question.
And he interrupted him, too, in the middle of it.
He's like, hold on. Like, you could tell it wasn't just a...
Now, hold on.
Clarifying. So we got to be careful here. I don't think people know what a banana ball is.
Well, it's not the Savannah Bananas.
See, it could be confusing.
Could be.
Maybe that's where Sip's head was at.
Sip was like, as a man in stilts doing backflips in the punter formation?
I'll say, he can kick with both feet. Can he kick in stilts? We don't know that.
Mouth.
That's banana ball. Banana ball at its finest.
I'm not going to read Hot Danger's comment there.
That's good.
Maybe he's a big, they talk about like the banana turn in baseball when you're like trying to round the base. You know, you kind of come out wide and do one of those.
The slingshot, yeah.
See, the thing about bananas though, pretty much, I feel like it was a pretty intuitive like name for what he does, like because you kind of like shape the ball.
Yeah.
Right, like kind of a crescent,
turns,
like a crescent shape. I don't know that it needed a ton of clarification. Like I've never heard that term used for punting before.
Neither have I.
But I just assumed.
Well, he's a journalist. He's just trying to ensure that he can provide clarity to his listeners and audience.
Maybe that's a possibility, but it felt like a pretty self-explanatory.
I thought when he said banana ball, I thought it meant more of like a knuckler, right? Like it was just like rotating every which direction or whatever.
Well, they have a name for that. It's called a knuckler.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's why I'm glad I got clarification because now I know there are two different ones.
Now you know.
Because in football, there's like a million different every coach uses different terms for different things.
Do you think you can banana ball with both feet, like with each foot, or is the banana ball like on? Is like
specialty?
I can only banana ball with my right foot.
A good special teams coordinator would know, right? They'll watch the film. They'll say, "Hey, when he rolls right, that's his banana ball. When he rolls left, it's just a straight line."
Yeah, just a normal left-footed punt. I do wonder.
That Aussie leans left. You got to be careful of that.
Okay, Wyatt, you're killing me, man. You're killing me, homie. You're killing me.
See, this is why he can't co-host.
This is exactly. This
Done,
is
Wyatt.
This
Sorry.
100%. Yeah.
That was funny when DB came back and he was like, "Did you keep these jokes up with Austin?" I was sitting back at my desk. I was like, "Thank God." I didn't answer that question.
Yeah, Wyatt, you're this is why you couldn't host. You get us all in trouble, we get canceled. You get fired like Shane Gillis off of SNL. We'd be out here in trouble.
Bill would walk in here and just be like, "Who is this man?"
Yeah, just be like, "What's happening here?" You gotta go back to your day job.
Speaking of banana balls.
Yes.
Banana ball. Whatever you want to
go. Not to whip my own cream.
That too.
Not talking about Hot Danger over here.
No. I did like how Rhule he always does this great thing. I know you're always big on this. That Rhule, he never says something that he hasn't either thought of before or thought of that he wanted to express. He shares all of his commentary for a reason. He never fires from the hip. It's all calculated, well thought of. And there's really not a question that comes out and surprises him. And he likely knew he was going to be talking about, the punter is going to be a topic that gets brought up. It's the first time people are going to see him. He actually sounded a little bit almost like he still was getting to know his new punter.
Yeah.
He didn't have a whole lot of commentary on it. And I'll be honest, he even sounded a little bit uncomfortable with kind of describing how the rugby style looks comparative to maybe what he's used to. But what I appreciated, and we heard from the clip when Shane brought us back, was how in practices and in the NFL model, they'll find someone from a practice squad to come in and emulate this type of pass and this sort of stuff. And it's that level of attention to detail is the same sort of stuff we've heard about Matt Rhule this entire offseason. Whether it's been as simple as changing the turf to grass and player safety. And I don't know if you were online for a long time yesterday, the amount of former players over the past really 5 years that quote tweeted the grass tweets and were like, I was a part of the ACL gang. Like, I was the one who got injured on the practice field. I was one of the few like, the players don't know how lucky they are to have this. Like, it was so significant that I didn't realize how big of an issue it was.
Yeah.
And it's that level of attention to detail that how can you not buy into a team that's willing to do all of these minute details that turn into bigger solutions to their problems?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I really appreciate is, and it's a stark contrast to other coaches that will remain nameless, that if Matt Rhule doesn't win here, it will not be because of anything that was under his control.
Yeah.
Not a single thing. Like, it's not going to be because he lost too many guys to injuries because the practice fields weren't good enough. It's not going to be because they didn't have access to the right nutrition. It's not going to be because their strength and conditioning wasn't good enough. Like, there will not, if there is anything in that man's control or that he can influence at all, that will be taken care of.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason I believe in this team so much, is because I have thought for a long time. I mean, Coach Rhule talked about it at Big Ten Media Days. He talked about it yesterday a little bit to a certain degree. I've believed for a long time that this team had more talent than the wins it was getting. Mm-hmm. Was there still a gap between them and the very top of the league or the very top of college football? Yes, obviously. But there was not I don't think there was a gap between where they were in terms of wins and losses and 8-9 wins a year. I really didn't think that was the case. And so a lot of the things that kept them from being an 8-9 or maybe 10-win team a lot of those years were things that were controllable that someone either missed, didn't see, or chose not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They either actively chose not to fix it, or they didn't know that it needed fixed, or they just never saw it in the first place.
Yep.
Right? And so that to me is, I really, really appreciate that. Somebody who, like, literally no stone will be left unturned in trying to turn Nebraska football around.
And even in that same sense, like what you're saying in this most specific example from what we just heard is him saying, some teams bring in that left-footed punter to practice catching a left-footed punt. The special teams have been atrocious for a decade. But those little minute details are what likely teams like Iowa do when they win on special teams, when they notice in situation, hey, we can bring an extra rusher on this side because we know that they're not going to protect us in a key situation of the game. And it's come to hurt Nebraska. But that level of little detail, you can make up some of the bigger issues on your team if you have the little issues figured out in your practices.
Yeah, and I know it's really easy to sit here and say, well, special teams will be better if they just make kicks or if they whatever. And that's obviously part of it. But whether or not a kicker makes or misses a kick is something that's kind of out of your control at a certain point, right? Yeah. Making sure that your punt returners are prepared regardless of what the other punter looks like, that's something you can control.
Yes.
Making sure that you've got guys on your team like Ja'Cory Barney that will encourage and help your punter mentally or your kicker mentally when he's going through it, that's something you can kind of control. There's a lot of things in your control. Making and missing kicks probably isn't one of them, but there's been a lot of games Nebraska's lost on special teams that weren't about making and missing kicks. Like, they've made some horrifying mistakes that weren't even about making and missing kicks.
Yep.
They were about a lot of these other things that would go wrong in special teams or on offense or defense or whatever. The fact that, like, at a certain point under Matt Rhule, they won't lose games because of that anymore. They might lose games because they run into teams that are more talented than they are or that on a certain day execute better than they do. But they're not going to, at some point, and I hope it's this year. I don't know if it will be, but I hope it's this year. I think you'll see a big step. At some point, they're just not going to lose games for stupid-ass reasons anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, when I did the schedule video last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, you could definitely tell when it went from being mostly Nebraska fans that were watching it to sort of other college football
General
fans.
Public, yeah.
Just because of the tone of the comments that would change.
Yep.
And I think it's really hard, not just for Nebraska fans, or not just for all college football fans, but for Nebraska fans too, about being able to imagine a world where Nebraska doesn't lose for stupid-ass reasons.
Yeah.
That's the world I'm living in already. Like, I believe that's happening. But I get it. I understand because it's happened for so long. Nebraska's had good enough talent to win minimum 8 games every year, basically the entire time I've been alive. Like, and we know how many times they failed that, right? Almost always, it's been stupid-ass reasons that they didn't get to at least that number.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk more than that? We can talk about 5 stars and recruiting and development and all this other stuff, right? But you can't convince me that on any given year, Nebraska doesn't have enough talent to win 8 games.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that.
Well, and it was another part that I've loved from transitioning from Big Ten Media Days to what we heard from the start of fall camp when Rhule was talking about the close losses. And he has reiterated it for 2 years now, saying it's not a curse. It's not a curse. And he said it straight up at Big Ten Media Days. Might have been my favorite quote from him. in his time at Nebraska saying, we just weren't good enough to win those games. It wasn't because of something happened. It wasn't because of a curse. It wasn't because we missed something. We didn't win those games. We were not good enough. And he doubled down on it yesterday, talking about their 2-minute process and saying, we made mistakes that lost us games. And that, once you accept that and okay, it's not just some 2-minute drill we got to run in practice all the time. It's not just some situational one-off circumstance that this other coach just had a leg up on us and we weren't prepared for it. No, you just accept the responsibility. We lost the game for 60 full minutes. It wasn't the last 2. It was every minute leading up to that and the final 2 minutes of it.
I will say the one thing when he said that, I took it, I think, differently than other people. I think some people took it as like the players weren't good enough. And I don't think that's the case. I think
people thought that.
I mean, I heard people say that. I took it as kind of like you did, where they didn't either prepare good enough or execute good enough, or like the talent. It wasn't a talent issue.
I've
like
always taken those comments as execution. That's how I've always assumed.
And I think some people took it as talent. That was some of the response that I got, at least. But when he says they weren't good enough, I don't think he's talking about talent. I think he's talking about preparation. I think he's talking about coaching in some aspects. I think he's talking about execution. I think he's talking about, hey, we didn't go. How many times did you hear him last year talk about, hey, somebody's got to go make a play?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? He didn't talk about we need guys that are capable of going to make plays. Those guys existed. They were on the roster. And he said, we need a guy to go make a play.
And he named names. There was a key midweek press conference where he said, we need Dante Dowdell to break off a run instead of 5 to make it 15. We need Emma Johnson to break a 7-yard run to 70 yards. I mean, we need our running backs to do that.
We saw the capability of that even with Dowdell. We saw him break Shiloh Sanders' arm doing exactly what Coach Rhule was talking about, where it's like, hey, you have to get through that first guy. You have to. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're your size and your power and your ability, you cannot be taken down at 5 yards by a guy in the secondary. It can't. If they run you down and trip you up from behind, fine, because they're faster than you, whatever. But if you get through the line, if it's blocked well enough for you to get through the line, you absolutely cannot be taken down by a guy coming in to fill from the secondary. Yeah. That's a non-negotiable. And what happened? Dante Dowdell, a lot of times, got taken down by a guy filling from the secondary. He wasn't able to consistently break that tackle, but it's actually didn't have the ability. He just didn't make the play.
Yep.
Right. That's what he's talking about when they're like, oh, we're not good. We haven't been good enough. You got to go execute good enough. The players are there. The players have been there. Yep. I think they're even better this year. I like this roster a lot. That's why I picked them to go 10-2. I think finally you're in a position where you've got guys that mentally are prepared to go make plays. And that I think is going to be a huge difference.
You hear Rhule sneaking a competitive stamina too?
I did. I was like, get the bingo card.
Yep.
Competitive stamina. Let's go, baby.
I dropped my stuff. I stopped. I was
go Big Red.
I was moving around the house and then I stopped. I had to back it up. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know why? Because he listens to the show.
He does.
That's awesome.
You know the clip where I dropped my stuff?
Which one?
Because I was like, this is so totally for DB.
Know that I can read this font without a pair of readers.
Man, our guy.
Hey, he's injured. You can't do that, Shane.
Our guy is sick, and you're
knocking while he's down,
hitting strays out here with the readers. That's foul, Shane. Come on, man.
Just hit the outro music.